Hi everyone, welcome back to PlanFirst Live. I'm Sian Larkin and I'm the manager of design services here at PlanFirst Design in Auckland. And this week's topic is going to be a continuation from last week's topic, choosing materials for your home. Which ones to choose, what are the differences? This week we're going to focus on kitchens and bathrooms, more specifically benchtops and cabinetry. So before I continue, let me get my presentation up. Right, so why is it so important to make sure that you choose the right products or materials? It's always a fine balance between the budget and the wish list. So it's important to know, and I talk about it every week, how you live, how your family lives. What are you putting the kitchen or the bathroom in for? Is it a house that you're going to live in? Is it an investment property? Are you going to be renting it out? These factors all do play a role. And, materials, there are materials, let's say the more budget-friendly materials are normally the materials that don't last as long as the more expensive materials. And we'll take a look, we'll go through them one by one, and we'll start with the most budget-friendly, cost-effective materials, and then we'll work our way up to the more expensive ones. Each of them does have their own merit. Even the most expensive materials sometimes do have drawbacks. For instance, if you were to go for a solid timber kitchen counter benchtop, you can't put hot pots onto that. It does scratch. So it's a balance. Weigh up the options and have a look, see what suits you best. If you were doing a design and you were going to rent the property out, it's probably better to go for materials that are hardier and more resistant to scratches, wear and tear, burns, etc., etc. Again, cohesively look at the materials. Next week, our topic is going to be mood boards, and we'll talk about why they are important and how you put them together. Just make sure, if you've got open plan living, do a cohesive look. Make sure whatever products, materials you do put in your kitchen or your bathroom, make sure that they match the rest of the style that you're going for. Often it is good to try and stick along similar themes when you're doing a kitchen and the bathroom. I wouldn't suggest going for opposite styles. Try and pull it throughout. It makes the house look more cohesive and high end. And most of the materials we're going to look at today, there's very few of them that are solid materials. You've got your granite and your marble benchtops, which are solid stone, natural materials. But the rest are all put together from a variety of primary products. So, cabinetry. What is the cabinetry actually made of? And we'll start with the first one, which is melamine. So generally, you would find this in a lot of homes because it is the most cost-effective, and it's mostly used for the carcasses of the cabinetry. So you've got a particle board, which is compressed timber particles, and they have got a plastic covering over them. What is important to note is the cabinetry needs to be, the edges need to be sealed extremely well, because it is susceptible to water damage if those corners aren't sealed properly. But this is your most cost-effective when it comes to cabinetry, often used for the carcasses. In larger kitchens, bathrooms as well, but especially in bathrooms, make sure those edges are sealed. Because if they're not, you would get water damage. And in bathrooms as well, make sure that those bathrooms are extracted properly. Natural ventilation, of course, is the best, but make sure your extraction system is suitable, because especially with showers, you've got a lot of steam in the air and moisture in the air. And if those edges are not sealed properly, the moisture will most definitely go into the particle board, and you might not see it for the first year or two, but eventually you will see swelling in the cabinetry. And often people say bathrooms don't ruin cabinetry, poor ventilation does. So just make sure those bathrooms are vented properly. Get that moisture out as soon as possible. The second product is called MDF, which is a medium density fiber board. So these are just finer wooden particles, and they're pressed into a smooth board. You'll see sometimes you can get skirtings as well made out of MDF. They are more moisture resistant than the melamines, but being a timber product, you do still get moisture problems if you don't seal those edges properly. But you don't, you've got no grain in this. It's a more uniform look. Very good for painting. If you're going to be doing shaker doors, very good for that. It gives a very smooth finish. MDF often can be wrapped as well, which means that it's not painted. It gets fed through a machine which basically vacuum seals it with a vinyl covering or a plastic coating with different colors and different patterns on it. And that does seal the edges pretty well. One thing to note with the MDF, it is heavier than the melamine. So I don't suggest making your carcasses out of the MDF. Keep your carcasses melamine. Depending on your kitchen, of course, plywood would be better, but that is a more expensive product. And just make sure, again, if you are painting, make sure that you're painting all around and that there are no places for moisture to go in. Then you get to plywood. So plywood it's real timber veneers that are laminated together, but in opposite directions. So each layer is at 90 degrees to the layer below it. It gives it quite a lot of strength. So these are very, very strong cabinets. They can be painted or they can be left natural. They hold fixings better than the MDF does, and they are more moisture resistant. So it is perfect for wall hung vanities. You can even use it, for instance, in this lounge. They've used it for the TV cabinet. And it is very durable. This one has not been painted. It has been finished just with an oil or a sealant. If you want that natural look, particularly if you've got a Scandinavian style, that would match very nicely. Next, we're going to have a look at timber. So timber, of course, is a natural material that is cut directly from the tree. You can have it as planks that are glued together, or you can have a solid piece. Of course, having a solid piece of timber is more expensive than having a piece which has been glued together. And it's best used for feature vanities or feature islands, open shelving, very popular at the moment. It looks very good with the LED lighting at the back. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll be doing our featuring internal lighting with Kim Reiki. So very seldom is it full cabinetry because of the cost particularly, and it does look, it gives it a bit more interest in the kitchen if you do mix it with other materials or other solid colors. What is nice about timber is if it does scratch, because it is more susceptible to scratching than some of the other materials. If it does scratch, you can, sand it down and refinish it. It's got a natural warmth to it, and it does add a lot of value, resale value to your home. Just on the note of solid timbers, what one's just got to be careful of, particularly if we're using them for bench tops, which we'll get to in a minute, is that you can't put hot pots on them. So just be mindful of that. If you are having a timber bench top, make sure never ever to put any hot pots or that kind of thing on it. I just want to have a look at some of these questions, if there's any of them relating to cabinetry. Okay, here's one that says, where should I spend more money, cabinetry or bench top? Now, I would say probably bench top in the kitchen, because that's the first thing that you're going to see, and it's what you're going to be working on every day. So it's going to take the most wear. In a bathroom, I would say just make sure you spend money on a product that is well sealed, that doesn't get moisture coming in. Let's just have a look if there are others to do with cabinetry. What is the difference between MDF and plywood? So MDF is just the finer wood particles that are pressed together, whereas the laminate is actual timber veneers that are laminated together. So it is the plywood is a much stronger product than the MDF, but again, it is heavier and it is more expensive. So it is a more premium product. Okay, if we have a look at bench tops, what are they actually? We'll start off looking at laminates. So laminates are, again, it's very similar to the melamine. It's a particle board which is wrapped or has a decorative sheet bonded with a particle board. Now, those decorative sheets you get in many, many different colors, many patterns. There's new ones coming out all the time. So it is very versatile and it is the most cost effective. Again, same as with the melamine, just make sure that the edges are sealed properly so that you don't have any moisture coming in, because that could be problematic. They are very affordable, but they are not heat resistant. So you can't put a hot pot directly onto that surface. And also you wouldn't want to have, splashes from your sink that aren't cleaned up immediately. So one's got to just be careful what you pair with it. It's just all about careful consideration of which product you put together. In bathrooms, it does perform very well. Again, just make sure that you've got a basin that sits on top of that bench top, and that the edges or the joints between the basin and the top are sealed properly with silicone, so that you don't have water going in there. A laminate would be a smarter choice in a bathroom as opposed to a kitchen, again, just because of water and heat. Then you've got the acrylic vanity bench tops. Now, these are very popular currently. It is a pre-formed mold that they use to make these. So there's no joints. It's one solid piece, which means that you don't get water going in the edges, because simply there aren't edges for the water to go in. It is a blend of acrylic resin and natural minerals. One's just got to be careful, and I'll talk about it with engineered stone as well, is make sure that the product doesn't have it. It's got 0% silica in it. So just be mindful of that. Most of the manufacturers are working with 0% silica. And the color and the material does go all the way through the product. So if you do bump it or scratch it, it is possible to repair it, which you can't always do with some of the other products. It's very, very low maintenance, and it's very easy to clean. And it does give you a very soft, warm feel. It matches well in most bathrooms. You wouldn't use this in the kitchen for obvious reasons. It's also not heat resistant, but for bathrooms, works like a bomb. It does scratch more easily than stone, not heat resistant, but it is a mid-range product. Then we get to the engineered stone. So this is crushed natural quartz that is mixed with resin and pressed into slabs. Now, what I mentioned previously, just make sure, if you're going to go for engineered stone, make sure that it doesn't have any silica in it. But this is a very popular choice for kitchens and for bathrooms as well. It's very durable, very low maintenance. It's got a consistent look because it is a manufactured product, an engineered product. So that means it is a very stable product. And it's I would say, the go-to for most homes. And you could use the same product in your kitchen and in your bathroom to just give it that overall uniform flow through that home. Here you've got another one just in a darker color, which has been used in a bathroom. So pretty versatile. And it goes, obviously with any of the other cabinetry. You can mix and match the cabinetry and the benchtop as your budget allows and as your taste allows. Looking at porcelain or sintered stone. So this is also man-made. It's almost the same process of manufacturing as what you would use for a tile. So it is made from clay and compressed under high temperatures and pressure. So it does replicate natural stone. It's got a very natural look to it. But again, it's a more controlled or stable product. You get many, many different designs, some beautiful ones at the moment, actually. Just make sure, something we spoke about a couple of weeks ago is if you do get a sample of it, make sure to get a big enough sample that you do see the pattern that it's got in it. Don't get the little piece that's just got the solid color in it. Make sure you get some of that vein going across it if that is the pattern that you're going for, because you would want to match that up to different products that you're going to be putting on your mood board and ultimately in your home. But it is growing fast because it is heat proof, so you can put pots onto it directly. And also, because it's UV stable as well, you can transition it from indoor to outdoor. So if you do have your kitchen indoors, maybe it's transitioning out to an outdoor kitchen, you can use exactly the same product, same finish, same color, just to give it that continuity. It is scratch resistant as well because it is very, very hard, like a tile would be, and very, very low maintenance. So it is a premium product. It does come at a higher price point than some of the other products, but very, very popular at the moment. Then granite. So granite is one of the natural materials we'll look at. It is 100% natural stone. They mine it in quarries, and then they polish it. So every slab is unique as it comes out of the ground. No two are the same. You get some beautiful granite slabs. It's extremely durable, perfectly fine for hot pots because it is heat resistant. And this is one of the high-end natural looks. It does need sealing, but it wears extremely well. And one of the questions that I see here, I think we have answered this already. What's the difference between laminate and engineered stone? Laminate is a timber product which has been wrapped with plastic covering, whereas engineered stone is a natural product being mixed with other products, synthetic products, to give you a much hardier product. So two totally different products. Moving along, we've got marble. Marble is another natural product, natural stone. It's not as hardy as granite. So people are a little bit more hesitant to use it in kitchens because it can scratch. Bathrooms, it's absolutely fine because one doesn't use, kitchen utensils and hot pots and things in a bathroom. But it is a natural limestone, which is formed underground with the earth's pressures, and then it is cut into slabs, and it gives you also a beautiful look. Just keep in mind it is high maintenance in kitchens, so it might be better suited to bathrooms if you really have to have marble. I would say if you have got a household that is maybe a little bit hard on materials, rather go for the granite as opposed to the marble. But use it sparingly in the kitchen if you have to. Timber bench tops. So here you can either have one solid piece of timber or you can have them glued together. And you can use things like oak, walnut, maple. Any of the hardwoods really can be used in the kitchen for bench tops and for cabinetry. It does give a visible grain. It's got a beautiful warm feeling to it, and it is quite high end. It does increase the resale value. You can use it, for instance, in a bar setting. That bar counter, you can see it has been made to look a little bit more natural. So that most probably could be one solid piece of timber. And it's been used to just give that warmth, that natural feel. It does scratch though, so just be careful of scratches. That is one of the drawbacks. But on the positive side, you are able to sand it down quite multiple times. Just make sure you maintain it properly. It does need to be oiled or sealed every couple of years. So be mindful of that if you are going to put in a timber bench top or timber cabinetry. Just make sure that you're okay with that maintenance factor. Because if you don't maintain it, you will get splitting over time because that timber is going to dry out. But it can work well for bathrooms and kitchens. Here's a bathroom cabinet, a vanity that has been made out of timber. Also, the cabinetry, sometimes they do use timber veneers. So it doesn't need to be a solid timber cabinetry. Solid timber cabinetry is firstly very heavy and secondly very expensive. So you can get cabinetry that has just got that veneer on it, so you get the look, but you get it at a much more affordable price. Often used for feature statements. So if you've got a feature island in your kitchen, good for that, good for shelving. Bathroom vanities, very specific. Again, you wouldn't use it. Don't let water stand on it. Make sure you try and get the water off as quickly as possible. And ensure that you are sealing it and doing the maintenance on the product as often as you need to. Just a coffee table that they've used. So it can be used for furniture as well. It's a beautiful product. You can mix and match it with a more modern style. It's very versatile. Just remember, again, heat sensitive. You would not put a hot pot directly onto your timber bench top. Scratches and dents, just be mindful, but you can sand them down. It's not with any of your products. Just be comfortable with how much maintenance you're willing to put in. If you're not somebody that likes maintenance, go for a granite bench top. Go for maybe an MDF covered the cabinetry, or a wrap door, which there's no maintenance on that, just a bit of a wipe every now and again. So that's basically it for cabinetry and bench tops. There is a lot to say about the topic, but we only have half an hour, and I would like to get to some of the questions because we didn't get to all the questions we didn't get to any questions last week. Let's have a look at this one. What's the best bench top for a busy family kitchen? I would say granite, one of the engineered woods, definitely not timber. And I'd steer away from the laminate as well, simply because if you do chip a piece of the plastic covering off, you're going to expose the inside, which is very susceptible to moisture, which could give you a problem. You know, we all know that sometimes you're going to have your kitchen sink could leak. And if it leaks into that cupboard, you know, it does get in wherever it can get in. You know, water just does get in everywhere. So I would say probably an engineered top, or a granite, or the porcelain. Let's just have a look what else we have. Why do some vanities have seamless tops and others have silicone joints? The seamless ones would be the acrylic ones, and it's simply because they are molded in one piece. So it's one piece that comes out of the manufacturing process. No joints, nowhere where water can get in. Very good product for a rental property. Whereas all the others have got the joints. Even with your engineered slabs and your granite and your mold slabs, it would come in a bench top. And if you have got, let's say, the waterfall edges, you will still have a joint between the bench top and the side. So that is really the difference there. So unless you can manufacture something in one piece, you will always have joints, and you'll need to silicone those joints. Is melamine good enough for a kitchen? Yes, melamine is great for a kitchen if you are using it for the carcasses. The carcasses are hidden behind the doors. Plain white melamine, quite acceptable for most kitchens. Unless you are going really high end, absolutely perfect for the carcasses. And that means you can spend a little bit more on your bench tops and a little bit more on your cabinetry doors. And this brings me to the next question. Where should I spend more money, cabinetry or bench top? Bench top in the kitchen and water resistant cabinetry in the bathrooms, or bench top as well. But in the kitchen, the bench top is what is used every day. So make sure that you give a decent budget to that. You know, with that balancing act between the budget and the wish list of materials. What is the most low maintenance bench top for a bathroom vanity? Acrylic. The acrylic bench tops, there's no maintenance for them, and very easy to clean. They're fantastic. Let's just see what else we have. What is this one? Are timber bench tops a good idea? Timber bench tops are a great idea if you don't mind the maintenance. And if you are just careful when you use them. It is one of the more delicate, if I can use the word delicate, materials in a kitchen. So yes, great idea if that is the way you live and if you're prepared to do the maintenance. And let's see if we've got time for one more. I think we've been through some of these already. But in closing, I would just say, have a look at your budget. Again, get samples. Make sure that your bench top and your cabinetry actually match each other and work well together. Make sure that your cabinetry and your bench top work well with the rest of what you've got in your home. Try not to clash. And mood boards, which we'll be looking at next week, is the best way to do that. So we'll have a look at why mood boards are important, how you go about actually creating a mood board, and how you use it. So let's just hide this one. Okay, but that's it for this week. We're a phone call away, we're an email away. You're welcome to get hold of us. We do specialize in residential new builds, renovations, additions, extensions, all over New Zealand and globally. So for those of you that watch us regularly, we'll see you again next week, where we'll talk about mood boards. Thank you for watching.